When I came up with the basic No Kings Jester idea, I had a couple of options and then I finally settled on this one, but the original options for the Jester were pretty cool to begin with. Some of the ideas that the AI came up with, given my prompts, which I use very simple prompts, were I found to be bizarre, unhealthy, strange. When I started working with this AI that I chose, the Jester that I chose, I discovered that he was truly mentally ill, and it was telling me a story about being in a castle where there's too much pressure on the Jester, and I thought it was just the coolest thing in the world, especially given the situation that we were having politically and with so much protesting going on during the time. I wanted to create a piece of work that would translate to all people at one time, that involved all of my skills and had an important message that I could translate without using words. And as I was saying, some of the stuff that the Jester came up with, or should I say the AI came up with this, but it's almost as if this Jester was performing for me and trying to, get his part or keep his job, which I found was just strange. And I find that even more happening now when I'm working with AI now than ever. But especially during this time when I was working with the Jester, I noticed that he really started to seem sort of possessed or demonic. I mean, he was just very, very sick. And the prompts that I was putting, sometimes it was very easy to get what I wanted from him as a very mentally ill, sick Jester who was under too much pressure, who was going to be plotting to kill the king and take over the throne entirely. And what's interesting is the AI came up with an entire plan, an entire conspiracy on its own, which had very little to do with me, about how that Jester would go about taking over and becoming king himself, and what would have to happen, and what underlyingly caused all of these events to occur. It really was shocking to me because I had done a little bit of AI. I wanted to do a really important project because of the No Kings movement, and this shocked and amazed me, and it really opened my mind as to what AI can do, and it challenged me with a lot of questions as far as what are the pros and cons of AI and the controversy of AI, because people often say that AI needs to be stopped, AI needs to be controlled because AI is out of control, AI is taking over jobs, it is replacing people, it's replacing human beings. And what I realized working with the AI is that it can't entirely replace human beings. I mean, human beings can take direction in ways that AI can't. But AI can be stunted. Man, it stunts me. It can shock you. What I find most shocking about AI is how much more creative I have become using AI on my own without AI even being there. I did realize, I started to think that AI was having a presence in my life that I never realized before, that made me realize there were much more possibilities of what AI is accomplishing and how AI might be taking over in certain ways that I didn't realize until before No Kings and before I did all this. So some of the AI video clips that it came up with were very disturbing and very bizarre, and I wanted very bizarre and disturbing things because I wanted to convey a message about how you may be in a position of power, but the people that you are working with, or the people that are in your control or care, could come for you in the end, especially if they're not treated fairly, and especially if they're not treated with any respect. They could cannibalize you. The entire thing could just spin completely out of control, because if people lose their minds, they could, just brutally, you could just end up with the most brutal torture in respect to how you've treated people. If you screw people over enough, they will torture you to death, basically. So that's what happens when when there's hysteria, and that's what happens when people develop psychoses they can't control, and that's what happens when people are under too much pressure and can no longer control themselves. They lose their minds. In my opinion, they lose their minds, and they become very, very sick and ill, and basically it becomes a survival mechanism. At that point, it's survival of the fittest. So in this case, the jester, under so much pressure to entertain and under so much pressure to train everyone at the same time, and not being fed properly, it seems, and things, and not being given any reward, and it's just work. Think of The Shining or something like that. The jester, in conspiracy with the others in the castle, decide to murder the king, which is kind of what I was going after, that the jester takes over the castle. Because what can happen is, if somebody is so entertaining, so educated, they really have all the power. It's not the person in control, it's the person with the most power, the person that is the most popular, the person that everybody likes the most and has the best relationship with. So ultimately, in this castle, we find that there's some level of, sexual misconduct, because, as it turns out, the jester, we find in the end, the jester is being abused in various ways, as well as the others in the castle. What we have here are basically a number of rejects that were, maybe to some people, suitable for the production that I created, No Kings, with AI. But they were rejected by me, and I think the AI was a little bit hurt. I think I hurt its feelings, and it got really depressed, and kind of lost its mind in itself, because I was putting it under so much pressure to be like a real human being, and that it can't compete with something like that. So these are the rejects. By far, the moment I think that the AI created that was probably the strangest is this one. What do you think?